Mr. Putin and his envoys talked tough ahead of today's airstrikes, but Russia's response since the attacks had been restrained. Moscow has issued more threats but so far refrained from taking military action as threatened. This morning Moscow warned actions will not be left without consequences. But a Middle East expert doubts Russia will take action. After an escalating war of words with President Trump last week, Russia threatened to fight fire with fire if the U.S. launched airstrikes at Syria. But the only action taken against the U.S., British and French coalition was from Syrian forces. Actions will not be left without consequences. The Kremlin. Russia's Colonel General Sergei Rudskoy claimed Syrian air defenses had intercepted 71 of 103 cruise missiles, but these claims have yet to be independently confirmed. Moscow said Syria used Russian-made S-125, S-200, Buk and Kvadrat systems to repel the attack. Notably, no launch sites were targeted after a direct threat on them from Russia, and the formidable S-400 air defense system wasn't employed. Last week Russia lawmakers hit out at the U.S. and warned Moscow would view any strikes on Syria as a war crime. Moscow has not acted after the strikes, and Russia's ambassador to Lebanon said any missiles fired at Syria would be shot down and the launching sites targeted. Speaking to Hezbollah's Al-Manar TV, Russian Ambassador Alexander Zasypkin said, "If there is a strike by the Americans, then the missiles will be downed and even the sources from which the missiles were fired." After the early morning strikes, Russia wasted no time in reacting. The Russian ambassador Anatoly Antonov wrote on Twitter, "The worst apprehensions have come true. Our warnings have been left unheard. If coalition forces hit 3 targets in the early hours of this morning, a pre-designed scenario is being implemented. Again, we are being threatened. We warn that such actions will not be left without consequences." But despite the fiery rhetoric, Dennis Ross, a Middle East expert, told the New York Times he didn't believe Russia would take significant action. He said, "The Russian and Iranian responses will likely be rhetorically, but direct responses are unlikely." A coalition of Britain, France and the U.S. struck last night. The targets struck were tied to CW, chemical weapon, infrastructure and not the bases where the Russians and Iranians are. A Kremlin spokesperson said the monstrous S-400 air defense system, known was not employed as the coalition missiles didn't come with an area of interest. The surface-to-air missile battery has been described as one of the most formidable air defense systems in the world. President Donald Trump blasted Russia in his address to the country following the launch of missiles in the early hours of this morning. He said, "In 2013, President Vladimir Putin and his government promised the world that they would guarantee the elimination of Syria's chemical weapons. Assad's recent attack, and today's response are the direct result of Russia's failure to keep the promise." Putin responded to the airstrikes, calling them an act of aggression against a sovereign state that is at the forefront of the fight against terrorism. He added, "The current escalation of the situation around Syria has a devastating impact on the whole system of international relations. History will put everything in its place, and it has already laid heavy responsibility on Washington for bloody reprisals against Yugoslavia, Iraq, and Libya." Putin has also called for an emergency meeting UN Security Council. John Huntsman, the U.S. ambassador to Russia, says America would welcome cooperation with a Russia that will do the right thing and join the rest of the world in condemning the Assad regime for its horrific actions and ensuring they cannot happen again. In a statement, Huntsman added the U.S. is ready to engage with Russia to further discuss Syria, but we cannot and will not tolerate the Assad regime's use of these horrific, illegal weapons.